Good evening. My name is Andy Leibel. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions and Advising to help present the healthcare webinar this evening alongside my colleagues Amber Ackerman, the Director of MIT Executive Degree Programs, and is Isaac, Admissions Advisor, MIT Executive MBA. Tonight we'll be going over a brief introduction to the MIT Executive MBA, as well as an introduction to healthcare and how it fits into the MIT curriculum and EMBA, and we'll also leave a lot of time for your questions with our student and alumni panel. We'll try to get through the first part quickly so that we can get to those questions. Let's get started. MIT, MIT Sloan, and the Executive MBA are all mission-driven. It's central to everything we do, and it's something unique about the institute and the school. MIT Sloan is in a unique position because it's part of a larger research institute. Sloan plays the role of translating innovations in science and management into organizational capabilities. The mission of MIT Sloan is to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world and to generate ideas that advance management practice. The Executive MBA makes a very special contribution to MIT because the students are in a position to immediately put what they learn into practice. And the mission of the MIT Executive MBA is empowering and connecting leaders to redefine our shared future. And we're going to talk briefly about the 20-month experience, which includes 26 weekends spaced out about every 2 to 3 weeks. A weekend for us is Friday and Saturday. There are also 4 week-long modules that are spaced out inside the program and a week-long international trip, which is part of an executive lab course. The international trip places about mid-March of your final year. I'll also stress that upon graduating, you'll receive the same MBA degree as the 2-year traditional MBA and Sloan Fellows MBA. Most importantly of all, the requirements and effort are equal to those for students across all MBA programs at Sloan. I'll provide a very high-level introduction to our curriculum tonight as well. And if you'd like to learn more about the courses we offer, I recommend watching our Curriculum and Action Learning webinar recording. It's posted on our website. Our weekend sessions are composed of courses that tie in analytical framework and business essentials. Analytical frameworks are techniques for analyzing business challenges and opportunities like organizational processes and system dynamics, while business essentials are the functional expertise that are important for general managers like accounting and marketing. Our integrated modules are those full weeks on campus that I talked about, focused around a particular theme and are inherently cross-disciplinary. While action learning is incorporated into the curriculum as a whole, 2 classes stand out primarily built around the concept. In Organizations Lab, over the course of several months, you'll implement a change project in your own organization. In Global Labs, you'll work in teams with your classmates on a challenge facing an international organization. Finally, our curriculum is largely lockstep and cohort-based, but we do have elective periods built in. In each January, you can choose between approximately 15 2-day courses, as well as an elective option covering your final spring term. Now we're going to look at what the kinds of students are in the MIT EMBA. The status pulled from the MIT EMBA class of 2025, but these numbers remain fairly similar year over year. Imagine yourself in a classroom of 126 global executive leaders. The average years of work experience in the room is 17, and the average age in the room is 41. These averages come from a broad range, including as low as 10 years of work experience to as high as 30. 56% of our students are non-local, traveling from outside of Massachusetts each class weekend to attend our program in person. 38% of the class is women, and 52% are of international origin, meaning they were born outside of the United States. 65% of our students hold an advanced degree of some kind, which could be an MD, law degree, PhD, etc. 676 are at the director level of their organization and above. But the one thing that 100% of our students have in common is that they are fully employed. Now that we've covered some basic program information, I'll now pass it along to Amber for information on healthcare at MIT.
Thanks, Andy. And everyone, I apologize for my voice. It is not lost on me that I am sick while presenting the healthcare panel, so I appreciate you bearing with me. So there are many amazing things about MIT that Andy mentioned, where the EMBA fits in and those contributions it gives back to both the institute and society. There are a wide variety of different centers and initiatives for almost every topic that's going on in the world today. So there's climate and there's sustainability and there's the future of work and energy. And of course, there is healthcare. So, the Health Systems Innovation, or HSI, located at MIT Sloan, is really focused on improving healthcare as a whole, both in the United States and abroad. Their mission is to improve health by discovering transformative and sustainable innovations through research and innovations with different leaders in the field. During the COVID-19 pandemic, these different healthcare experts, which kind of combined with faculty and some staff, were leaders in what was going on. And at times they were presenting not only to MIT leadership on the different changes of things happening, but they were also advising the government of Massachusetts on what to do to help make informed decisions. HSI also hosts the healthcare certificate here at MIT, which is very popular among the Sloan students. This can be for those who either want to focus on a different area than what they might be familiar with, or maybe make a pivot or a transition into a different space. The healthcare certificate, as I mentioned, is very popular and it requires two core courses and then 24 units of electives. The HSI also provides different meet and greets as well as a lunch speaker series, which brings in some really big names across the different industries to talk about their cutting edge work. So there are kind of different buckets to look at the focus on healthcare across MIT. So kind of those centers and different industries that I mentioned, there are also conferences and clubs. There is the Digital Health Transformation Conference, the Healthcare and Bioinnovation Conference, and of course the MIT Sloan Healthcare Club. There are also different hackathons to discuss policy or meetups and those lunch and learn sessions that I previously mentioned. Within the EMBA program, our physicians group is extremely strong and very active, and they also host different meetups both on campus as well as across the country, and they're often invited back to lecture at Sloan and MIT classes. Some of those electives that I mentioned, those ones you could choose from for the healthcare certificate, are economics of healthcare industries, healthcare lab or H lab, as well as healthcare ventures. There are actually over 25 electives you can choose from in the healthcare space. And so that can focus on machine learning for healthcare, medical device design. So not just what you might think of on the traditional surface level. There are also different organizational connections, both within Sloan and across MIT. There is the Koch Institute for Integrative Cancer Research. There are connections made from the Industrial Liaison or ILP program at MIT. There are different teaching cases that the centers and faculty and sometimes students get involved in. There is even a Harvard MIT Center for Regulatory Science, and they've partnered with the FDA to create a center focused on those regulatory science and making sure there's quality and safety and efficacy of medical products that are addressed. So this is kind of just a quick snapshot of the different organizations and hospitals and groups that our students and alumni are part of. What makes the cohort so amazing on a variety of levels is all of the different experiences and voices that are in the room. One of the things that I love about seeing our student and alumni posting on LinkedIn is that it might just be, oh, I was published in this amazing journal, or I'm launching this new drug at a conference from something I learned at MIT. We had one of our alums, presenting at Davos this year. So just the organizations are truly lucky to have some of the students within the program show what they're able to learn. So as Andy mentioned, the stats for the class overall, kind of year after year, do look similar. And so for the class of 2025 in the healthcare, life sciences, and pharma area, that represents 30% of the cohort. And we also have 16 practicing physicians in the class of 2025.
All right, thank you, Amber. Now we're going to move on to your questions for our panelists. We'll be using the Q&A function today in the webinar. So if you want to type your questions, we'll be able to ask them live, and we might be able to answer some of them in the Q&A function by typing out an answer as well. Our MIT EMBA panelists, I'll have them introduce themselves in just a moment. We have Saloni Bell, Jay Baumick, and Meredith van der Velden. We're lucky to have them joining us. If you want to start off, Saloni, by maybe introducing yourself and your role.
Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned here, I'm an EMBA 24, so class of 24, and very sad to have graduated over the last year. I am currently an executive director at a pharmaceutical company called Merck, and I head up the neuroscience division there on the commercial side of the business.
Wonderful. Jay? Jay, I think you're still muted.
I'm muted.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Jay Baumick. I'm a serial entrepreneur in healthcare IT, pharmaceutical, and currently I'm a president at Thesis Pharma Ventures and Prom Holding. I am trained as a pharmacist, researcher, and clinician in pediatric oncology before I became an entrepreneur. Passionate about healthcare and happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. And Meredith?
Hi, it's nice to meet everyone. My name is Meredith van der Velden. I'm an ICU physician, still practicing at Boston Children's Hospital. Certainly went into my MBA experience not knowing much about the world of business at all. So come to it as someone who lived in academic medicine for a very long time and remains there.
Wonderful. Now we're still waiting for some of those questions to come in. So why don't we just start off with what prompted each of you to join the MIT EMBA to start that application? Any one of you.
I can go. Well, I was thinking for a long time to do this, and eventually I decided if I don't do it in 2023 when I started, and I'll be graduating this year, that I'll never do it. So really, I've applied to 3 schools, and I was very fortunate to get in MIT, and yeah, I think so far it's been a blessing, and I achieved more than what my goals were. So very pleased.
I can go next. Yeah, a few things prompted it for me. I was at another pharmaceutical company at that time, and at a stage in my career after 12 years of working at that company where I felt that something was missing. I wasn't sure what that was, but there was I needed a fire lit under me. So an MBA seemed like a good path. MIT was a no-brainer for me. I had sort of dreamt at doing some advanced degree at MIT all through my life, so I only applied to MIT. It's something that was very close to my heart, and if I hadn't gotten in that year, I would have applied again the next year and the year after that. So I just really resonated with the values of the school, and just always wanted to go here. My husband was an alum here as well, so it was a phenomenal decision in retrospect, and happy to go into it later.
Yeah, I'll answer as an academic physician already in Boston at Boston Children's Hospital, with many of the struggles that are experienced by practicing clinicians, and certainly practicing clinicians in academic medical centers. I was participating in roles that had me at the table with people who were thinking about the business of how we do medicine, and recognizing the deficiency of those that are at the table, particularly those that still practice, that understand how healthcare works. And I really found myself compelled to want to understand and learn more. And getting an MBA was the next choice. And certainly among the group of my leaders at the hospital, MIT was the place that I was, kind of the place that was understood to be where you go if you want to be an academic physician that learns how to think about the business of what we do more. So easy choice for me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we have some questions coming in, so thank you everyone. And so this can just go out to all the panelists. So Ricardo and Sebastian are kind of on the same wavelength, asking about collaboration for joint projects or anything with Harvard, maybe something with the Media Lab. Of course, there are opportunities to take classes both at Harvard and the Media Lab if people choose. But if anyone has any experience with those two location centers, please let us know.
I didn't collaborate at all with anything at Harvard, but I am a Harvard Medical School professor. And just as I said before, MIT was a place that I was recommended to do my MBA training. I guess Amber and Andy and Anupa could answer, how much is permitted. I know there were students that definitely took courses there. I didn't personally, but the open lines of communication between where I held a professorship, which is still at Harvard Medical School, and my ability to communicate, interact with MIT was very smooth and easy.
Yes, thank you, Meredith. Yeah, so it's while you're an MIT student, of course, the primary focus should be your courses at MIT, but after your first semester, there are the opportunities to cross-register for courses at any of the Harvard schools. And so their requirements are just a little bit, you have to be there perhaps on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. where the EMBA classes are on the weekend. So we can definitely chat more offline about those. But I think Meredith said it best. The relationship between Harvard and MIT is really great, even if not everyone takes advantage of both opportunities.
I can add to that just a little bit. In one of the classes taken, the professor, I was doing just like a project, and it was her suggestion, it was Erin Scott, that, hey, I'll connect you with Harvard, and they have a similar project going on. It was voluntarily, and many of the professors, they have some kind of formal or informal working relationship with Harvard. So you just have to ask. It's pretty easy.
Thanks, Jay. And see, Andy, you have another question up on deck?
I do. It looks like Maria's asking about what type of electives that each of our panelists took specifically related to healthcare, if any, and if they focus on national or global health at all.
Yeah, I can go first. I didn't take any specific healthcare related electives, but to be honest, I didn't feel the need for it as well, because every single course I had, almost every single course, maybe not everyone, but had a case study related to healthcare. This included like the accounting course, the finance course, the the organizational processes course. Like every course had it. So I felt that I was getting a lot from the program in different ways and shapes and forms, as it related to my industry through the courses that were already, you know, that were already planned, or the more general ones. So, I felt I got everything I wanted out of it.
Completely agree. I mean, most professors, they have a lot of healthcare example. In fact, I recall on the classes, some of the non-healthcare, people are saying, hey, what about us? Can you give us some non-healthcare, examples? I mean, in 2025, at least I just saw the stat, and now seems accurate, 30% of the class is healthcare. So they are definitely relating to it.
I'll comment briefly that as a practicing clinician, I was, as much as it would have been comfortable for me to want to take courses in healthcare or to sign up for a healthcare certificate, I was really encouraged to kind of do the pathway of of hardest resistance, which was more economics and strategy and finance, which was so hard for me and such an incredible experience. But it would have been really it would have been an easy opportunity for me to do that, but I really was advised, and I think it was the right advice, to sign up for electives and courses that were outside of what I could get easily where I was working. And so it was incredible advice, and I'm glad that I did it, although it was not the easy road to travel.
Yeah, Meredith, your answer kind of mimics a question that Anita is asking, because she's saying for someone with a strong clinical background, but an interest in healthcare, business, technology, or operations, how did kind of the EMBA help make that transition from maybe just that, clinical to kind of more business and operational?
Yeah, I can't stress enough. I mean, personally, I looked at courses in healthcare, Harvard Medical School, the School of Public Health offers MHAs in healthcare or healthcare administration. And I think the best thing I did was to get away from anything healthcare labeled and really get and talk finance for big corporations and talk accounting for companies that don't look like healthcare. And my ability to kind of understand it in its core, aside from the healthcare, and then try to bring it back was one of the best things that I brought back to my work. So um, I would leave it to the advisors who know better than me, but from my personal experience, I think it was incredible advice. And I think I would encourage anyone that has a strong clinical background to kind of take the harder road and really dive into learning about economics and accounting and finance and marketing from a non-healthcare perspective, and then force yourself to figure out how to bring that back to what you do. And I think that experience, both practically and then when you come back to work, or theoretically and both practically, it has been for me now a few years out, one of the best choices I made and the hardest, and one of the best advice I got from my many advisors.
Great.
Love hearing that. So James has a question about what opportunities are there to apply the curriculum in industry projects at local healthcare organizations? Have you encountered any of those either during or after the program?
Andy, you're saying projects, just so that I understand, projects that are.
So the examples were said what opportunities to apply the curriculum in industry projects at local healthcare, i.e. Tufts, MGH, etc. But I was kind of interpreting this as how did you apply the curriculum to your industries, or after you've graduated, how have you applied the curriculum?
And I found the best part of the program is just that you can apply things real time, and I found it very applicable. Like there were many projects in my company that the curriculum helped like really connected to. So one example was I was in one of my favorite classes was an organizational processes class led by Professor Roberto Fernandez. And in the class, he kind of challenged us to think through like what's one change that you would make in your organization. And I had proposed as part of my project and a paper the build of a new vertical in the business that was completely unrelated to anything I do on the R&D side. And that project eventually the paper was so good, and I eventually showed it to our CEO and the company, and they actually created that vertical, and I actually helped design it. I thought it was a perfect, while it was not another organization and outside my company, I felt that the program really gave me tools to challenge status quo within my organization, and suggest things that were completely out of my normal toolbox, and give me the courage to actually speak up and drive change in a way that made sense. So maybe not exactly your question, but just an example of that a little bit.
And Saloni, was that part of your OLAB in creating this new fund, or what was, maybe we pivot a little into what for your organizational lab project each of you did and kind of brought back to your organization with your findings?
So mine was part of the OP, so organizational processes class. For OLAB, I proposed changing our clinical trial processes and operations in my company. So redesign that, and that was also super helpful.
Jay, you're fresh off it. What was your
Oh gosh, yes. Just got the grade, by the way, just 2 weeks ago.
This has no bearing on
So-
that, so.
No, it's so very one of the best things that I like about EMBA program here. Being a senior executive, I've been kind of self-employed for many years, and almost every class I could apply, I could pick a project from my companies and make it better. Real project, real data, right? And that directly impacts. So OLAB is one of them where I picked a project where I wanted to reduce my turnaround time in one of the compounding pharmacies that we run. It's a very difficult thing to do. Initially, I started to boil the ocean, but obviously, professor, kind of made sure that we only tackle what is practical and what is data driven and what can be achieved in that 3.5, 4 months time, which is fantastic. And so we went through the journey, and we had a goal. And we achieved some of the goals, and we did not achieve some. But whatever we did not, fast forward a few months later, we have been able to achieve. So it was without that. I mean, that was one of those projects where you see it, you analyze, and you wondered, why didn't you think about it before? But then when you're hearing the lectures, you're like, wow, okay, yeah, this really happens. And these are the wastes in the processes and how you make it better. So, I mean, to me, that was a fantastic project for the company.
It's great. Meredith, 2 years out, what do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the comments I'd make is, and maybe it's back to the other question about, working with healthcare institutions. I think a thing that distinguishes the MBA at MIT, and really the reason where, when I was considering it, it was the place that I was asked to go by my leadership, was I think they're about solving problems. This program that I will heard in my mind every month that I was there, and have since, like, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and how can we help you solve it? And I feel like today, 2 years out, I come up, often with, I need to go back to this professor and talk to him about this problem I have. And I have no doubt that I can do that. And I think, I am being approached by professors now to say, can we bring a group in from, I think the most recent one is not the executive MBA, but the baby MBAs, as they call them, to come in and do a healthcare project. And so I think there's this group, or at least my experience is the group at MBA or at MIT, that leads us through our MBA, is about solving real problems. And if they can participate and help in keeping doors open to help solve a problem, it is what I experienced. And so my OLab was a smaller one about creating business within the small physician practice that I have. And I think, to what Jay and Saloni said, it's really about getting to a problem, defining it, and solving it. And that is a common theme. And I feel today, 2 years out, if I needed help solving a problem, I could go back to any of my professors and say, I'm struggling with this with my work. How can you help me do this? And I think they're invited in, I'm invited back. I think it's a really an open line, but I do think it's not about, my experience was that it's really not a theoretical program, or not theoretical problem solving, but actual, how do we get you to solve a problem you actually want to solve in the work that you're doing day to day, big or small.
Wonderful. We have a question about how does the program offer support for entrepreneurs who are looking into healthcare IT innovation? I know we have Idea Week on campus. Did any of you take advantage of the support that the MIT Sloan or MIT offers in this regard for entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the best program for entrepreneurs, MBA or EMBA wise, no doubt. In fact, the number of resources immense. We literally don't have the chance to even explore everything that they offer. But anybody who has a goal to pursue entrepreneur spirit, I mean, there's Martin Trust Center. There's so many electives that somebody can take, including some like healthcare venture focused elective, healthcare IT. I used to run a healthcare IT company as well, which I exited. There are structure classes where even for a seasoned entrepreneur, you would, go in and see a model, a blueprint that I wish I had before when I was starting. So it's very rich. I mean, I've taken probably 6 or 7 entrepreneur classes, but there's like probably 50 available, based on your choice.
Absolutely, a lot of options here.
Andy, did you have another one about yes, from Edward. And so this can go, I see Saloni typing an answer. So maybe Jay will keep going with you and then over to Meredith. How did you manage the course workload while juggling full-time work and other family responsibilities? Jay or Meredith, if you'd like to start.
It's honest answer, it's not easy, but time flies, like committing yourself. I think that's the first step. There's, and I use multiple ways, time blocking, definitely not, waiting until the last moment for those assignments. That helps a lot. While flying, utilizing the time for that helped a lot. It's you have to be methodical and plan out, some classes are harder than others, and but I would say all the advice are true when they say 15 to 20 hours. It really 15 to 20 hours, every week. As long as you know that is the commitment, I think uh, everybody should be able to do it. But there will be sacrifices. I mean, I still took some vacations where I took my books and laptop, and I was working at the beach, and that's I was still at the beach, but still working, right? That's, I mean, before in the holiday season, I'm not used to working during the holiday season. We did it, right? But time flies. 20 months will fly very quickly. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's completely worth it. That's all I want to say.
I can echo Jay that I think the work it's real and it's hard. And I think it's why it's a degree program. We get a transcript and it's a degree and you have to work hard to get it. I will tell you, in my office at Boston Children's, on the wall, I have my finance final up. People come by and look at it because I did it on paper, and they used to make fun of me and wondered if I used like an old like accountant typewriter to do it. I'm not as great with Excel, but I have it hanging up and people look at it because they think it's crazy that I actually did that. And I'm really proud of it, and it was really impossible. But I would say, so to echo Jay, the work is hard and it's real. It's a real program where you really have to do the work. But what I was told at the beginning, and I believed even more at the end, is there's no EMBA left behind. The group is there to make sure you get through. And so it's recognized that we have, at the stage of our life that we're in, Andy shared the statistics of our ages and the degrees we have jobs, and we often have families and huge commitments, and people got new entire jobs during it. And I just couldn't even imagine what that was like to transition, to have something change that significantly. People lost family members, and we made it through together because the combination of the support we had and the recognition that what you're doing can be spaced in the way you need to is this mix of expectations that is high, but accommodations that allow you to see that this group will get through to the end. And that's what I felt personally during the time, and really proud that I was forced to still do the work, but really supported through it.
I was going to say the same. I mean, for me, balance is really hard, as Jay said as well, and Meredith said, but there's nothing more important than the support system. Going into the program, I was worried with my husband and I had just gotten married, like how, that would, with the workload and everything, like how would that kind of go? I was also worried with work. I had just come into a new role in my last company, and just, how would that all get managed? And, I think everyone showed up at the end. And what the EMBA community creates is a very nice support system where you have a bring your boss to work day, and or bring your boss to school day or whatever. But it's people find a way to engage their worlds, between your work world and then your school world, and they appreciate what you're going through, and that thing that's really meaningful. There's also my husband found it really helpful to have, like, they had a spouse group or partner group for all the EMBA classmates. So my husband was in this group with a lot of other significant others, and he felt very supported. And whenever people were visiting, we hung out with them locally in Boston or otherwise. We've traveled together. So I think there's nothing like the support system, whether it's at home or at work, but then also what this community provides beyond the students, their significant others, this amazing program staff, like all of it together. So just utilize that. That's the most important, I think.
In fact, I'll just add to one of that is there is a WhatsApp group for EMBA kids as well, at least in
Oh, I don't know.
2025. Yeah, so we brought them on campus. They got connected to other EMBA children of the same age, and they're still talking.
Yes, there's many lifelong, kind of weddings during family weekend and they rekindle at graduation. And so it's, yeah, reunions, they're back and maybe don't remember each other. But yeah, both Saloni and Jay mentioned something that this presentation kind of didn't cover is hosting different support ecosystem events on campus. So Significant Others Weekend, we host each November. So you'll get the opportunity twice throughout the program. There is a family weekend in July where you can bring your family to campus. And then in each April, so again, twice throughout the program, bring your boss to campus day, just so again, that whole support ecosystem that you have can see what's going on with you at MIT.
All right. And then we have somebody asking about the flexibility of applying the EMBA projects. So we do have that very lock and step core curriculum that we use for our students that needs to take the priority for anything else over electives, et cetera. But what's the flexibility that you've experienced with your EMBA projects and what you took from your experience at MIT?
I think it's very flexible. We have our Goal Lab coming up, the international trip that one of the slides shared that. We had a choice of, I think, close to 35 different places, different types of projects, and some decided to completely pivot and do something different that they are not used to, and some stayed on their lane, some wanted to go visit a different country that was good enough reason for them to pick that project. Some wanted to be non-profit, and they did that. So the variety is immense. You just, I think they gave us, unlimited number of choices, but typically most people were able to get their first or second choice or third choice at most.
Melanie or Meredith? Yeah.
Yeah, I could comment on the flexibility. Like I said, I think I quoted this kind of this group really wanting to help you solve problems. My experience was for the courses where there was travel at the very end, either Global Lab or participating in the Israel project. At the time, it didn't make sense for me to travel, and I was really kind of participating in my clinical work at the hospital and really trying to evolve a program there. And so I was really supported to create a project that was tailored just to me during that time where my classmates were across the globe traveling, which made a lot of sense for them. And I did a site visit to a hospital in Utah that looked like the project I was doing, and actually used that as an opportunity to travel that week to build out a project for myself that I was working on. And so I think they really are interested in helping you solve the problems you're trying to do at your work. And as you get to the end and these problems, these weeks that are kind of labs, this one's the global lab there. What do you want to do in this last week that allows you to have the greatest impact going forward? And some of that's to travel for projects. And for me, it was, I'd like to work on this thing that I'm doing at work and I need to travel for that. And so I was able to kind of create what I wanted to for that week. And I suspect it's really in line with, I think, this general philosophy, which is what is the problem you're trying to solve and how can we help you learn and be able to solve the problem you want to in real life?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there was for me also, I mean, for the project that I had for GoLab it was an international travel project, which was completely unrelated to my industry. We were trying to scale up off-grid solar solutions in Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa, completely unrelated to anything I do, but it was just remarkable, like the tools that we learned in class, but also there were synergies with my industry that I just hadn't thought through, and really got to in just a very short time frame do something meaningful, even though small, for an organization completely out of my sphere. I'll also comment that in one of the last projects we have after Go Lab is we get to working with nonprofits for a week, and we had a really amazing adventure and experience working with a nonprofit that focused on play-based learning in Massachusetts, and really got to spend a whole day with children in school and really understanding what that meant, and really taking, again, principles and tools that we've learned in the classes from finance and OLAB and everything else spoken about systems dynamics, and apply it more in the nonprofit sector, an area that often people don't really associate as much with structure, but would benefit with that. And that project was also very, very successful. And in fact, one of my team members on that project ended up actually moving forward and considering a board position with that nonprofit. So really amazing. And he was not associated with the education sector at all before this. So there are great opportunities, and it's just a matter of, what you do with them again.
If I may add to that just a little bit also, flexibility-wise, one of the questions I think was related to entrepreneur and all that. If in our class, you have an option to do Idea Lab as well, which allows you to work on your own project, startup. I know of at least 4 actively working on startup, where sometimes 2, 3, 4 MBAs that group together working on their own startup, and utilizing a lot of resources here, in MIT. I think that is fantastic. I mean, very little other projects MBA program that I know of that will let you do that, and working on your own startup and get a grade out of it, which is fantastic. So yeah, flexibility. I mean, it just, if I know of a 25 member who has taken, I think, 7 or 8 Harvard classes. It's all up to how much you want to do, like whatever flexibility you have, you can do.
I think I know which EMBA you're talking about. All right, so I think we're just going to take one final question. We're coming towards the end of our webinar, and then we just have a few slides to close everything out. But before we let you go, we just want to find out we have 2 kind of similar questions. What's the best advice you could give well, this one's asking best advice for medical doctors, best advice for anyone to doing the MIT EMBA. And then also, if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself before you started your EMBA journey? Take it away.
Be brave, yes. Who wants to go first?
Sure, I can go first. So the best advice I'd give myself if I was going back or give to someone, I guess, is just go into the program, knowing that it's going to be like a lot more. I think a lot of us look at the program, at least I did initially, thinking more that, okay, I'll get some of the business skills that I wanted to get, like brush up on finance, brush up on a few other things, like get a network. It's much more than that. And if you go in with the mindset of wanting to be transformed and just like a blank slate and just immersing in everything's to come, the program will give you so much more. I came out of the program having lifelong friendships. I didn't think at this stage I would be able to make as good friends as I did. I know the program director, sometimes Joe has joked around about it. He paid a lot of money for making friends, but I swear in many ways it was worth it. But more than that, I mean, I was able to figure out a career path that I just didn't see for myself if it wasn't for the program, and just know myself a lot better and and build more confidence. In terms of what I would do differently if I went back, I felt initially while we were doing Fridays and Saturdays classes, I was still trying to multitask with my work initially for the first couple of semesters. And now if I go back, I would tell myself, just let go completely of work and be able to, just completely immerse on those weekends into the courses, because again, it's completely worth it, and you want to maximize what you get there. So.
I can go next. So I think one of the best things about the program is the advice I can give. Know that MIT is very selective. Know that your classmates would be very accomplished. And sometimes they know sometimes more than you can imagine. You may not have seen them talking in the class, but once you get the chance to work on a project with them, you'll be amazed. So learning from each other, I think that is one thing that really helps. And what I could do differently, I think I wish I was from Boston. There are so much resources available I'm from Texas. I wish I was not taking the last flight before the class. Go a little early, use some resources that's available, whether it's MIT, Harvard, or locally in Boston. Well, try to make it up last few weekends.
I guess the little bit that I would add is I think, we kind of talk about everyone is going there is you have an idea in your mind, I want to get this next role, or I have this idea. And if I could give a bit of advice, I think you are only thinking of what you know of. And I think it's particularly as an academic physician that didn't know a lot about the business, the world of business. It's been a kind of life-changing experience. I just don't see the world the same anymore, particularly in what I do day to day. And I think if I had limited myself to, well, now I want to be a division chief or department chair or some path that I already noticed, I would have missed the opportunities to think of things I could have never imagined. And I think this is a really immersive experience. It really is a life-changing, and it will change the way you think about what you do day to day, particularly for someone who is an academic physician. And I think to go into it really engaging in it and being open to the things you have never thought of, because most of what you might find yourself doing later, which I'm doing now, aren't the things I could have even imagined on my own prior to going in. And so I think it's the advice that I would give now and the advice I'd give to myself. And luckily the program is so supportive and immersive that I kind of ended up there anyway, but I would have gone into it just being like, I don't even know what I'm getting into. I just know it's going to be really life-changing for me in my career.
Well said, all of you. As always, we appreciate you having you here and having you speak to your amazing experiences, what you've done through the program, and what you're doing today. Thank you so much for answering questions to our audience. All right, we just have a couple of things before we wrap up. And Nupa, do you want to take?
Thank you, Andy. Our applications are open. Most of you would be familiar with the application dates. The final deadline is on the 8th of May. We accept rolling applications till 1st of June, but it is dependent on seat availability. So I would highly recommend that you try to submit your application within the final deadline. These are the upcoming events in the next few months. We have a few virtual and in-person events. They're on our websites and you can register for them today. There are 2 in-person events that I would like to highlight. We will have a few of our colleagues in Washington, D.C. in March. And if any of you live close to D.C., I would highly recommend attending the info session. The last opportunity to meet us on campus this year will be in April for the Program Insights event. It is a hybrid event, so even if you are not living close to campus, you can still attend it virtually.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone, for attending the webinar tonight. Thank you, panelists, Amber and Andy, for all the information you shared. I hope that everyone attending enjoyed the session. We really look forward to hearing from you. Have a great night.